Thanks for listening to Curious Cat, the podcast that examines a shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Holtz. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. Recently, I listened to an episode of the Higherside Chat with Greg Carlwood, and his guest was Gordon White. White mentioned the I Ching, and almost to himself, he said something about the knowledge contained in this mystical book being a gift from the dragons. Well, one person like me who's nuts about dragons, I didn't miss that. I hit the 15-second reverse button and I listened again. If you follow my Curious Cat feed on Insta, then you've seen that my pens, my pencils, and watercolor paints have been completely co-opted by dragons over the last 2 months. In the past, when my friend Monique Pliakos spoke to me about dragons and her relationship with them, I was thrilled, but I was also envious. I wanted dragons in my life. Well, months later, after working with a group on Earth gridwork, they spoke of dragons like Monique did. I went with it, immersing myself in the meditations, and I sent out my gratitude to these powerful, mystical, and when they want, invisible creatures. I told them they could rest on the land where I live, and I'd help them to heal up. That very night, a warm, breezeless night in Colorado, the whole house shook as though something heavy had landed on the roof. I went outside to make sure no birds had flown into the side of the house and needed a rescue, and I saw my first dragon. Not on the roof, but lying across Table Mountain. He considered me with one pearly eye, and I was in love. Back to that podcast episode though. What was the I Ching? And did dragons have a hand or a claw in bringing it to humanity? Let's get into it. Let's do some I Ching 101. What is the I Ching? I found this from ChineseFortuneCalendar.com. The I Ching is the foundation of Chinese yin-yang philosophy, describing the natural changes in our universe and deriving this philosophy into an oracle. Some people refer to the I Ching as the Book of Ease or the Book of Changes. I Ching philosophy was invented by Fu Zi around 2900 BC, predating the establishment of Yellow King's China in 2697 BC. It is the oldest oracle tool in China, and concepts such as yin-yang and the seasonal changes of Chinese astrology, they're derived from I Ching. Its theory has prevailed worldwide for thousands of years. Other sources say the I Ching has many authors, which include Confucius, and describes 8 essences of life: fire, water, wind, thunder, river, mountain, earth, and heaven. I Ching at its heart is a powerful divination tool, something that helps to predict the future or give insight into an ongoing ordeal. In the ancient past, Chinese used I Ching to forecast the weather. That makes sense because this had to be an area where prediction was always sought because we didn't have fancy satellites back then or smartphones to warn us of a disastrous first frost or a storm that was on the way. From YouTube, I found there are 3 basic principles of I Ching. Number 1, everything is constantly changing. Number 2, because changes take place in an orderly manner. Once we discover it, everything becomes easy to understand. And number 3, once we realize nothing is unchangeable, we shall finally find peace and harmony. Wow, I love that very much. I Ching also gave us the divination we know as feng shui. Nothing is fixed or unchanged, and all things are interconnected. This speaks to me of energies as well. Suicidal ideations I had in the past were an energy I got sucked into, but then the energies changed. They shifted. I had to be in life long enough for that moment, and it didn't take long. Sometimes it came in the form of a parent knocking on my bedroom door to ask if I was ready for dinner. It could have been a call from a friend or overhearing a television from another room that caught my attention. The energies shifted. That's just one example, though. I know it's a personal one. It will be no surprise to you then that yin and yang are integral to I Ching. The balance of them, their qualities, and spoiler alert, our energies, our good fortunes, they are best when our yin and yang are in balance. Yeah, when we embody both sets of values and energies into every thought, action, dream, invention, or experience. Let's dive into the I Ching and dragons. Oh, come on, baby. What's the relationship between them? From ChineseFortuneCalendar.com, the dragon is a legendary creature, a trifibious animal capable of surviving on the ground, in the water, and in the sky. People view the dragon as mystical, cloudy, misty, blurred, and unreachable. It reminds me of the Hermit card in the tarot deck. Because the dragon can travel in the sky, it is connected to heaven in China. Many Chinese emperors wore and wear imperial robes with dragon symbols, making the dragon an icon of power. They go on. In the Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1911 AD, the emperor's yellow imperial robes were woven with 9 dragons. This is because the number 9 is the strongest in yang or power, and the number 6 is the weakest in yin. Old yang and old yin information can be found in the pages of the river diagram and Lo Shu. Therefore, the solid yang bar, yang, in I Ching is connected to 9, and the broken yin bar, yin, is connected to the number 6. Okay, did you notice that the article just kind of jumped into the numbers, like we know what those mean and how they relate to the yin and the yang? So we're going to slow down a little bit and go through a number of them. No pun intended. 9, number 1, is a hidden dragon. So I'm just going to drop, they have the word 9 and the number 1, and then it says hidden dragon. I'm just going to give you the number 1. This is the lowest level of yang. The energy of yang is just developing, much like a young baby dragon unable to handle anything. In this situation, the dragon needs to hide itself and refrain from taking any action. If the dragon becomes active, jumping around and showing off, that's a sign of danger. It means you will likely fail if you take action during this time. Number 2, field dragon. The yang energy is growing. The dragon grows up a little bit and emerges on the ground. Now, people around you can see you, a sign of hope. However, level 2 is an even number representing yin. The dragon is still young and needs to learn more. The best way to do that is to seek advice from mentors. If you go your own way, you won't get the support you need, and you won't succeed in reaching your goal. At this stage, it's best for the dragon to look for help and support. Number 3, diligent and vigilant dragon. The dragon climbs up to a higher position. Level 3 is yang, in the right position for the dragon. Now, the dragon becomes stronger and smarter, attracting more attention. However, the dragon also becomes a target, and thus it is in a dangerous spot. If the dragon makes any mistakes, it will be attacked by many competitors. Therefore, the dragon needs to be alert and work harder to compete and survive. The status of level 3 diligent and vigilant dragon is riskier because the enemy is around. Number 4, jumping dragon. Level 4 jumping dragon has jumped out of danger. Now the dragon is even stronger and ready to take off. However, level 4 is a yin position, indicating that something is still against you. The dragon must wait for the opportunity to jump higher, staying alert and assessing the situation. It's okay to try for multiple jumps. A jumping dragon is like a person with lots of knowledge and skill, possessing the ability to handle many positions and waiting for a better opportunity for the future. However, to prevent any mistakes, people need to pay attention to all aspects. Otherwise, there's no chance to take off. Number 5, flying dragon. The dragon moves up to the highest yang position. Finally, the dragon is flying in the sky, enjoying the unlimited space of the sky and the power of potential. Now the dragon is in the top position with many people underneath. It's time to meet people and look for assistants, advisors, and leaders to solidify the territory and make its reign stronger. This is a sign connected to the emperor or president. The term the veneration of 9-5 in China signifies that the person holds the highest ranked position in an organization with reputation, wealth, and power at the same time. Therefore, this is a sign of success and victory. Number 6, regretful dragon. When the dragon flies to an even higher position, it will find there is no more room up there. The dragon cannot fly higher and won't fly lower. Level 6 is a yin position, meaning the dragon arrives at the wrong position and will regret reaching this point. The only way to discipline itself, if the dragon is too greedy and looks for more satisfaction, then it will make mistakes and step into a dangerous situation. Therefore, the highest position in this context is not necessarily the best. A flying dragon at level 5 has more to enjoy than a regretful dragon. So there are many, they're talking about the different bars and the broken up bars, and that is part of the I Ching. It's super complicated. It's really hard to explain on a audio podcast, but there are a few hexagrams is what they call these kind of pictorial images of bars or broken bars. And the first one is the sky hexagram. It contains all yang. This implies creation, aggressiveness, stubbornness, powerful strength, unlimited energy, or endless recycling. This is a sign of many dragons. If there is no competitor in the group, this is a good and peaceful sign. The attitude of conceitedness, waywardness, or impetuosity will bring trouble. People need a cool, objective, flexible mind and attitude to reach their goal. Therefore, the sky hexagram is both a good sign and an unlucky sign. Many people dream of reaching the flying dragon level. Remember, we talked about that was the highest level, but they go on to say there's no privacy for the flying dragon in the sky, which is so true. In reality, people can make their lives easier by simply being at the jumping dragon level. They can adjust their jumping altitude and have more options in their lives. I just really love that. They also go on to discuss, as one author examines why 2 dragons fight in the I Ching hexagrams in 2.6. So that was interesting. And I had to go into a deep dive on, dragons fighting? So thanks to onlineclaritycompany.uk, they had this incredible article that's titled, Why Dragons Fight in Hexagram 2. I encourage you to follow the links in the show notes to both books that are mentioned extensively in this article. And then also you'll be able to see those hexagrams that they're referring to. But here are one author's insights. The second chapter of David Penkenier's lovely book, Astrology and Cosmology in Early China, Conforming Earth to Heaven, rejoices in the title, Watching for Dragons. In it, he talks in detail about the dragon of hexagram 1 and also proposes a whole new idea about why the dragons are fighting in 2.6. For a long time, since 1930 in the West and much earlier than that in China, The scholarly consensus has been that hexagram 1 describes the cerulean dragon. This was a vast constellation whose journey across the sky described the growing season in old China. Of course, the dragon is not only in the sky. Rain dragons also sleep in mountain lakes and must be woken at the right time in spring, as Steve Marshall wrote in The Mandate of Heaven. Also, he notes, Chinese alligators had remarkably dragon-like seasonal habits, and alligator skin drums were the preferred way of imitating thunder and inviting rain. But the dragon that flies in the heavens is made of stars. You can see illustrations of its flight in Penkenier's book on page 49. It's invisible in winter, in the watery abyss under the earth, or submerged dragon. In spring, its horns appear above the horizon at dusk, and you gather to conduct a great rain sacrifice in the month before the summer solstice. Okay, Penkenier thinks line 3 isn't part of the story, but wouldn't farmers now have to work hard all day and still watch the sky at nightfall to check the dragon's position? The author says the whole body of the dragon becomes visible, climbing vertically into the sky, and they call it dancing or leaping in line 4, and levels off and soars over the fields in summer, spanning the sky. By mid-August, its horn is already dipping below the horizon again. Penkenier suggests that the dragons of 1.6 seems to be lingering too long or too high because the lunar month and stellar calendar have fallen out of sync, as they do over this time, and we need to interpose an intercalary 13th month to restore the order. It doesn't have to be the dragon who experiences regret. It could be the people who realize from this sign that their farming is not in harmony with the seasons. This dragon is an unmistakable, unfailing sign of when to work and when to rest, of how to conform earth to heaven and bring the rhythm of your own life into harmony with the celestial power. Wow, that's amazing. For modern Westerners talk of being in harmony with heaven or in Tao, it can sound either esoteric or rather fluffy, but riding the dragon is utterly different. You must plant and work at the right time. If you are too early or too late, your crops will not grow and you will not eat. So the dragon belongs with hexagram 1, the creative heaven, as an active celestial creature, the bringer of growth and the sign of the coming summer. Only the dragon also appears in hexagram 2, line 6, and this is the line, quote, dragons battling in the open country, their blood dark and yellow, and end quote. And hexagram 2 is associated with winter. Stephen Field describes it as a works and days that narrates the agricultural activities of fall and winter, beginning with frost underfoot in line 1 as a sharp reminder that it's time to prepare. So why are there dragons fighting in hexagram 2? And why would they appear there in the first place? In my book, the author's book, I suggested that one of the dragons was fighting for the earth quality of openness to all possibilities, to the point of sheer inertia, resisting the creative impulse that would give a new and specific shape to things. But they go on to say, well, dragons are not just heavenly creatures. They're also water creatures, followed by clouds as they rise from and return to the watery abyss under the earth. And the celestial dragon actually doesn't disappear throughout the winter. Penkenier says, as any ancient farmer or sky watcher certainly knew, the dragon never disappeared from the sky during the season of cold and darkness, much as the yin force never completely overcomes the yang. Rather, the dragon would disappear below the horizon by September, but its horns would reemerge above the eastern horizon by mid-October, in the hours before dawn, as opposed to in the spring or summer dragon, whose who's first seen at dusk. After this, the dragon, rising almost vertically, would follow the same soaring path across the heavens as in spring and summer, only in half the time. And this means that come February, quote, the dragon's horn spica would reappear above the eastern horizon at dusk, while a second dragon could still be seen in the western sky on the very same day, late at night until dawn. So given the appearance of differently postured dragons in both pre-dawn and evening skies at the start of the new year, it follows that two dragons would have been thought to coexist at the margins of the sky, one yin and one yang, contending with each other for supremacy. So the dragons fight, one for the persistence of winter stillness, like clinging to that coziness, the other for the return of spring. Boy, that sounds like the dichotomy in me as winter turns into spring, right? I'm excited for spring, but I also already miss the coziness of the winter months. The author goes on to say, in his book, I drew on experience to suggest that one of the dragons was fighting for the earth quality of openness to all possibilities, to the point of sheer inertia, resisting the creative impulse that would give a new and specific shape to things. He said he also is embarrassed to say that he called them earth dragons. Oh well, he says. And then he says, these celestial dragons seem to fit the same idea. If the winter dragon won, or calling it a yin dragon, as Penkennier does, is anachronistic, the earth would stay quiet and open. Spring would not come and nothing would grow. Potential versus active growth. In practice, 2.6 can mean someone is digging in their heels against changing times, against having something definite happen. That's really interesting. He says it'd be hard to talk about this in readings without mentioning clearing the ground for planting. You know, when people hoe and they kind of churn the dirt up, which is also an agricultural task for the cusp of spring. He quotes this, a ripe fruit uneaten, noble one gets a cart, small people strip their huts. The difference between noble one and small people parallels the conflict between the two dragons. One is forward thinking, one is not. One moves and one stays put. You would have spent winter shut up in your hut, using up your food stores, but it's time to come out. What about the ripe fruit uneaten? That contains the seeds of potential for the future growth. Well, here's again Penkennier, the first evening rising of the dragon's horn above the eastern horizon in the fields, accompanied by the first full moon of spring. The pearl the dragon is often depicted chasing or mouthing signaled the quickening of vegetative life and the approach of spring planting. Could the uneaten fruit be this first full moon? Such an interesting thought. It's about to be spring. Everything is preparing to grow. Where are you? Traveling with the change or fighting it? Tracing this line pathway all the way round takes us full circle back to autumn. Dragons battling in the open country. Their blood dark and yellow. A ripe fruit uneaten. Noble one gets a cart. Small people strip their huts. Not far away returning. No regrets here from the source. Good fortune. Treading on frost, hard ice is arriving. Now it's time to find a partner and move into your hut for the winter. The pathway overall isn't about a single time of year, but rather the moment, spring or autumn, when a new season is not far away, returning, and it's time to respond and move. I thought that whole passage, I'm sure so much of it went over my head, but it was so interesting. And it reminds me, have you ever had those moments where you feel the tension within yourself, where you're resisting change, but you know change is going to happen whether you resist or not? And finally you just give into it. You just cave to it. And it just feels as like this beautiful release, like when you take a splinter out of your skin. It just feels so healing. 2024 has been the year of the dragon, specifically the wood dragon. Did you know? Here's what that symbolizes. And as we near 2025, it's a great time to hear this message for the last year and watch backward at the ripples that it cast. The year of the wood dragon symbolizes strength, vitality, and new beginnings with confidence and courage. It offers countless opportunities for personal and professional achievements, encouraging boldness and pursuing dreams with creativity and passion. It's time for a little straight talk, because if looking back and knowing that was the potential of 2024 with the power of the wood dragon behind us and it finds you feeling regret because this was an election cycle in the United States, and that served as a major energy vampire at its worst and a constant distraction at its best. Woe not. Don't give it another thought. We can seize the next 2 months until early February 2025 to begin anew with the wood dragon's assistance because of the timing of the lunar calendar. If you've already forgotten what the properties of the wood dragon are, here's another definition from a site about coin collecting, believe it or not. And please click on the article to scroll through the different interpretations of the year of the dragon in coins that were minted around the world. The US Mint, oh my God, spoiler alert, it needs to up its coin game because some of these have gems embedded in them, or jade or pearls, and the art is breathtaking. Okay, so back to the wood dragon. If you believe in the Chinese horoscope, it states that the 2024 wood dragon, nourished with the wood element, will bring abundance, evolution, and improvements. This is the year to set the foundation for long-lasting success and revitalize beginnings. People born under the dragon are thought to be confident, charismatic, intelligent, and just gifted and lucky by nature. If you were born under the dragon zodiac, you share this sign with many famous people, such as Joan of Arc, Julius Caesar, Bruce Lee, Ringo Starr, and Abraham Lincoln. Okay, and remember that the Lunar New Year's calendar is every 12 years. So that would be if you're 12, if you're 24, if you're 36, 48, keep going. This is your year, baby. Shake it. The Kong Foundation on I Ching had a lot to say about the role of dragons. The central question in the beginning asked by the shaman was, if you abandon your origins as well as your source, can you erase the claim they have on your body and soul? And does it matter? This question is the essence of the I Ching and why the dragon became the liaison between knowing and not knowing, and man's ultimate connection between the universe, heaven, the 10,000 things, and nature itself that serves to unify all of us. Wow. And this next sentence, oh my God, it just ripples through my soul. Quote, our own story depends solely on our catching glimpses of our role and our deciding to come along for the ride that feeds eternity. Oh my gosh. That's powerful, isn't it? There's no other way to end today's conversation. Thank you for listening to the podcast. As we gather with loved ones across the globe in the days ahead, you will be on my heart. I am grateful for you. Until next week, stay curious. I love you. Instead of a curious cue this week, I wanted to share the story of the books that tried to kill me. And it relates to the dragon conversation because it's all about the light and the dark, the yin and the yang. And what happened to me helped me to remember my light, to remember to lean on my guides, my angels, my beautiful dragons, and to be positive. in a world that seems to be very dark right now. And I think that's an illusion. I think it's the last gasps, but we need to keep our personal armor up, and we need to ground ourselves every morning and evening, cleanse and clear ourselves, and just make sure the energy in our space is positive. When you find yourself, this is a conversation to myself, when I find myself sucked into the dark stuff, to get away from it. Okay, so I listened to a podcast episode. It was recommended to me from my friend Karen Rontowski after my birthday tarot reading. And it was actually recommended for my daughter, Bryn, who's in college. She's a senior this year, and she's going to be doing amazing things in her career. I mean, she's already done some amazing things. She's pretty phenomenal. Both my grown kids are. I'm really lucky. But I listened to the podcast because I wanted to hear what this woman had to say. And I thought, gosh, I'd really love to have her on, Curious Cat, but I need to order a couple of her books. I don't want to put her name out there because I don't want you to think that if you ordered her books, you're cursed or something. I actually think it has more to do with something else. But I ordered 2 books from her. When I got them in the mail, first of all, you need to know I was all by myself. My husband was across the country. My daughter in Colorado was super busy with work. And so I wasn't seeing anybody. My one friend in Colorado, she was out of the state. So I couldn't even get together with her. So I get these books. I open up the packages from Amazon and I breathe in, and immediately something started tickling my throat. I ignored it. It felt like the tickle of a beginning of a sinus infection. I pull out the books and I look at the covers and I went, oh God, I don't like these covers. Intuitively, and I didn't have time to read them. I was working on an interview with the blue collar spiritualist, which was going to be happening. So I put the books, and this was my intuition, but I put them in a place, and then I put my dragon journal on top of it, and then 2 sets of my spirit guide tarot decks. They're not tarot, they're just like oracle decks or whatever. But these are all infused with super positive light. I work with them often, so they were pretty powerful, and they just stopped the energy. Okay, so fast forward a few days after the interview, I had time to read a book, and I went, ooh, I'm going to read one of these books. I moved the things aside. I cracked open the spine of one of them, and it was immediate. My sinuses blew up like I had had a sinus infection for 3 days, and it happened in a split second. I got so sick. I have not had a virus like this since I was in college, and I was exposed to a whole nother group of people, and you're staying up too late and you're getting up too early and you're not eating well and the whole 9 yards. As the sinus infection cleared, it became 2 ear infections. It went down to my windpipe. I had to go up, I woke up in the dead of night because my dog was kind of freaking out, and I realized he was freaking out because I wasn't breathing. It had a fever that went on for 5 days. Clearly, you can hear I lost my voice, but when it went into my windpipe, I had to remember, oh my gosh, is this like croup? And I remembered this because I had to get my daughter through this a number of times when she was little. And I went outside, shocked my system with the cold air in Colorado, worked like a charm, and I was able to breathe, but it was just terrible. So 2 completely sleepless nights, because then I was afraid to lie down. I was afraid to fall asleep because I didn't want to die in my sleep. And Cooper is a good dog, but come on, this is too much for one dog to have to do, be on life alert or whatever. So the 3rd night, I actually fell asleep, and I had this dream that I heard these hooven feet walking through my house. And I went, I need to get rid of those books. I immediately threw them out the front door, the books, and I saged and Palo Santo the entire house. And every time I'd go to do the same to myself, it would just, those were the bundles of herb and the wood would just completely go out. So I had to like burn them, invoke Archangel Michael to get them to burn. And finally it took a hold and I was able to cleanse and clear it. I forgot about what I had done with the books. I knew they were gone, but I forgot that I'd thrown them out the front door, which is kind of funny because I started feeling better almost immediately, but I also didn't want to go out in the public and I was out of soup in my pantry. So I ordered DoorDash soup. I can't help thinking of the poor DoorDasher that came to deliver my thing of soup and my cookie and seeing these scary demonic looking books on my porch just like thrown into the yard. I don't know. God help them. I hope they're okay. So I kept getting better, but I wasn't fantastic until finally one morning this last weekend, I thought I need to get rid of the books. I'm being told to get rid of the books. So I put them in a plastic bag and I intended to just drop them because I didn't want to throw them away. It felt wasteful. So I was going to just give them to one of those used bookstores, right? And then I asked my friends, Monique and Karen, and Monique goes, "Oh my gosh, it's immediate. You need to get rid of the books. Like you need to burn them." So I proceed to go out of the yard. I take them out of the bag and there's two books. One looks really sinister. The other looks more innocuous. The very sinister looking one lit up like that and just like burst into flames. It was done on my little bonfire pit. And then I doused it with water and doused it again with more salt water because my guides told me to do salt water. The second book, that sucker would not burn. I was trying, my hand was literally cramped on the little lighter as I was holding it against the book to try to get it to catch fire. And it's the middle of the day and people are walking on the ditch and they're oblivious to me. And I asked Archangel Michael to help me. Please help me to do the right thing with this book. Well, immediately it started it caught the corner on fire. And I look over at the bag that had held the books briefly for like a couple, maybe 6 hours, 12 hours. I don't know. Like Amityville Horror, the plastic bag was covered in houseflies. They were buzzing around. They were sitting on the bag that had held these books. And one of the flies tried to go in my ear and I said, "Get away. I have a boundary. I need you, Archangel Michael." And then the book just burst into flames in the fire pit. Like it burned up again so fast when it finally caught. It took multiple like dousings to make sure it was safe and sound. There were no embers that were still alive or whatever. And then I just did another couple pitchers full of salt water again, because the guide said use salt water because you're putting a boundary on it. What's crazy is I went inside and I was texting with Monique and Karen was worried because she said, well, burning it will give it energy or whatever. But my guides were telling me get rid of it. And it all makes sense because my eldest said, "I wonder, how did you get these books? Like, was it the bookstore or whatever?" And I said, "It was Amazon." And Nora goes, "I just wonder if it was a very, very sick worker that had to go into work when they really didn't want to, but they didn't have a sick day. They need the money, as we all do, right, for a job. And they had to show up and they put the books in there and they were just highly sick. And that's why my guides had told me to burn them, because it was actually burning a virus and it had nothing to do probably with the content of the book. But I built it up in my head and this virus had just like made it into this crazy monster thing. So that was the books. But then this morning, I had the coolest kind of experience. I've told you, we did a whole episode about the magic of in between times, right? And I mean, in between everything now, in between life and death. It's like this sweet spot in between supernatural and the meat suit, in between dark and light or shadow and light, whatever you want to call it. All of those in between spaces, I'm finding even being crepuscular when it's daybreak or nightfall. those are magical times because we are sitting with a leg in between two realities. Okay, going back to my reading with Karen Rontowski, it's a gift I give myself every year for my birthday. She said that I'm a bridge, which made so much sense to me because I've never fit in anywhere. I'm always saddled between two things. We go through a very emotional election, and I can see both sides of it, and I'm not emotionally invested in either. I just know we're going to be okay and that we've been through worse, and not to buy into the sadness, the trauma, the, traumatizing myself with what could be. And so that was, it's very isolating to be a bridge, right? But then this morning, and it was funny also, I'll tell you this. Karen said, I'm a bridge too. I'm just not a very good one. And I'm like, Karen, you're a good bridge. Stop it. But now this morning came with a gift. I was in that sweet spot between sleeping and waking. And I was laying there in bed and everything was quiet and nothing needed me. No animals needed me yet. And I wasn't going to look at my phone yet. And I was just sandwiched between the blankets, and it was just that perfect warmth, and my body just felt still kind of numb, and my senses were dulled. It was just perfection. And I realized I'm not a bridge. I'm like a middle layer between two other layers. So, okay, phyllo dough. I'm like in the middle of phyllo dough, baby. And so like phyllo dough, maybe you have your delicious filling at the top of me, and then you have the crusty phyllo dough at the bottom. I'm the middle layer of phyllo dough that kind of starts dissolving into the filling, but it's also part of the crunchy exterior. It's crazy. And if I let go of myself and just blend into everything, I let myself bleed into everything, where I literally become nothing and everything at the same time, I can experience both things at the same time. And that is the magic. That's the magic. I'm not a bridge. I'm a layer that's in between things. And that's why I can see both things so well. And I can literally feel in my body what each camp is feeling, but I'm not tethered to either way of being. And I guess that what I need to continue to do is to share the perspective with the other. So I need to tell, okay, the filling layer, there's some really important work being done with the phyllo dough that's on the outside because it's holding in the juicy filling. And then I can tell the juicy filling part, the crunchy exterior phyllo dough, hey, listen, there's a really cool layer that's not far away from you that has this amazing, delicious filling. And so just have appreciation for that as well. And I get to sit in between it all. And it does have to do with the dragons, doesn't it? Because they are teaching us constantly. Angel energy, dragon energy, whatever you connect with, is that the magic is being able to step outside of your experience and experience what the other is feeling, is thinking, is worried about. And maybe that helps us to have a deeper empathy and be part of, as close as we can when we're not in that beautiful space of meditation, of feeling a part of the all, where we want to simultaneously giggle with the lightness and the love of this unconditional love. But at the same time, we want to cry because we feel the hurt of our fellow creatures on earth. So anyway, that was my big insight this week. And no, I'm not going to be posting an Amazon review of her books about the books that tried to kill me, because I really do think it does boil down to a worker that wanted a day off, but they couldn't. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't take the day off, and they had to keep going. And that's what was clinging to the book covers. And I send them love. I know they're probably okay out there, but I just send them deep, golden, beautiful love for healing and for a joyful end of 2024 and beginning of 2025. And to all of you, thank you for being a part in the front row of the craziness of my life and being open to listening to an experience that is completely outside of you. Take care. Until next week, I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA, or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.